We are going to begin in 1 minute, so if you'd like to get settled. Thank you, everyone. This is City Council meeting of September 15th. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Reddick?
Here.
Councilmember Mueller?
Here.
Councilmember Penrose?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kowalczyk?
Here.
Mayor Fraser?
I'm here, and we have Vice Mayor Kowalczyk is joining us via technology from Singapore, where it is, I think, about 10 o'clock in the morning. We have a very special program for this night because we have our scouts that are here to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'd like to invite the young men up to begin their process so they can have us join them as they lead us into our pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen from Troop 141, for assisting us with this evening. And we have another special treat for us this evening. We have a wonderful installation that was just presented this evening over at the library. And this is going on globally right now. We're very privileged to have this happening. And I'd like to invite Dr. Lisa Chu to come up and tell us all about this. They just had the reception and the opening celebration over at the library this evening. Welcome, Dr. Chu.
Thank you, Mayor Fraser and City Council members. It's an honor to invite the community and to tell you about The World We Want, which is a public interactive art installation that went up tonight at the library and runs through the end of the month. It is 2 8-foot by 8-foot chalkboard walls and covered with squares that contain 2 prompts that invite the public to publicly reflect and express their vision for the world we want. The first prompt is, I want to live in a world where. The second prompt is, to create this world, I will. And I just want to say a few words about what this means to me and to perhaps inspire each person who is in this room to go to the wall and write their own reflection. To me, it says that the world we want is not out there, that the world we want depends on us. And it depends on both our imagination and our commitment to act on behalf of what we imagine. And everything that we imagine always starts out invisible. And so it's through our commitment and what we choose to do that we coax the visible into form. And I know that Mayor Fraser took the time to write her own reflection this evening, and I'd like to have her share with us what she wrote.
Well, I actually co-opted it from another quote, but it basically was, ordinary people buy big TVs. Extraordinary people build great libraries.
Thank you. So I invite you all to go to the wall and share what your own vision is and what you choose to do to create this vision, and to start a conversation with others and to see if we can cooperate to create together the world that we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chu. How long is the installation there for? And people can come?
Yes, you can come to any time. It's attached to the outside wall of the library, and it will be there through September 30th. And just another note, we'll be cleaning off the wall twice a day, so every day is a new wall. So if you saw it today, it will be different tomorrow and different throughout the day as people fill up the space and we make space for new reflections to be written.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of activities that are coming up. The Fish and Fleet Festival is going to be out at the harbor on September 27th. This is the first time this has been done, a brand new event, and it celebrates our local fishermen, sustainable foods and arts and crafts and beverages and all types of fun. So that's going to be from 10 to 4 on September 27th. And Councilmember Penrose, do you want to talk about the Shakespeare thing? I think it's coming up that same weekend. I know you had announced it last time.
I think what I was announcing was the jazz band at the Odd Fellows, and that's that Friday night.
Great, thank you. Any other things coming up next week council members like to share? Okay. And we'll report out from closed session, and we'll have our attorney speak.
The HR committee made a determination regarding some of the processes to be used for the performance evaluation, and we'll be presenting that to council at a future city council meeting.
Thank you. And city council reports. I will start to my right. Councilmember Penrose.
Yes, on the 4th of September, I went to the KEEP meeting. That's the Co-Sited Emergency Action Program, a group of about 50 people that are involved in our emergency response, including Sheriff's Office, Chamber of Commerce, medical personnel, Red Cross. And one of the things that came out of that was a brochure that had been prepared that I believe is going to be available to everyone. I'm not sure whether it's going to be mailed out or not, but it will be available to all citizens. And it's just a checklist telling you, reminding you of things to do, keeping your fuel tank half full, and having your meds on hand, and water and food and those kinds of things. And then the KEEP group themselves also has a checklist, a very extensive checklist for go bags, emergency supplies at home, with listings of resources that are available and discussions and information about sandbags and that kind of thing. On the 9th, I went to the opening of McDutra Plaza, and I'll let Mayor Fraser and the other council members talk to that more. On the 10th, I attended the Coastside Chamber of Commerce, meeting as the city's legislative representative, and we had a wonderful presentation by the Community Choice Group. We're going to be hearing from them again this fall. It's a group of, it's a nonprofit organization which is trying to get started in our county. It's set up in Marin and in Sonoma and a lot of other cities around California and also in other states. And it's a way for consumers to get renewable energy, increases amounts of renewable energy rather than taking the energy that they get from PG&E. It's delivered through PG&E. It's at a cost savings. It's a program you can opt in or opt out of. At any rate, that will be coming back to council after their technical report is finished, so that we can decide as a council whether or not we want our city to be involved in the county's program. On the 10th, I went to the GPAC synthesis meeting, and there was a lot of discussion there. There was so much discussion that they decided they really had to have a second synthesis meeting. This is supposed to be taking all of the information gathered from the 4 building block meetings that the GPAC has put on. And there were some questions raised, a lot of questions about the margins of our downtown core, a lot of questions about possibly changing regulations for PUDs at Wavecrest and west of Railroad Avenue, among other things. So that will be coming up sometime in the next couple of weeks, another meeting to discuss these things. One of the good things that they did was they responded to our request to make it less of a presentation, more of a discussion. And then the last thing I did, on the 13th, I went to the very first of our library workshop meetings at the Ted Adcock building. It was a bilingual meeting, which was nice to see. And we were presented with some ideas and asked questions about what we wanted in a library.
Great, thank you, and I can follow up on the Peninsula Energy. I'm on the advisory board.
Great.
Good. Thanks. Councilmember Reddick.
Did you want to talk to Councilmember Milchek first?
Okay, usually I leave him as vice mayor after me, but if he's ready and wants to speak, we won't ignore him.
Yes.
Hello. Hi. So 4 things to report on. So we had a recycled water meeting in which we designated, or we directed staff to meet and to develop next steps, come back to the advisory group on the recycled water. So the member agency managers were directed to meet and move forward with project planning. We also had a special SAM meeting, Sewer Authority Midcoast meeting, where we had discussions about the potential hiring of a new general manager for the Sewer Authority. And then I worked with and met with the Latino Advisory Council, and we met with neighbors from Oak Street, which I'm sure you're aware is the neighborhood where there was a tragedy and a death of Felix Vega, and wanted to understand what the community was dealing with in the neighborhood and their feelings and needs at this time. And so spent time there getting that input and talking to the families there. And then, of course, I'm in Singapore for international election monitoring, and was here for the election here, and I can report all went well. And that's
Thank
my
you.
report.
Councilmember Reddick.
I
also attended a couple of Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side meetings in preparation for hiring a new general manager. And we have a couple of good leads and hope to have something signed, sealed, and delivered very soon. I attended the general plan synthesis meeting and the MacDutra ribbon cutting. I was a little late for the cutting itself, but did make it to the event. And I attended the library workshop on Sunday, which was very interesting. There was lots of passion and wonderful input on that. I'd like to mention that Coastal Cleanup Day is Saturday, and the Coastside Land Trust will be hosting an event out at Redondo Beach Road, starting I think at 9 a.m., but you can go to their website, coastsidelandtrust.org, to confirm the time. There are other cleanups too scheduled for Francis State Beach and other locations on the mid-coast. It's a great event. We usually haul tons and tons of trash, so I hope you all consider that for your Saturday morning this week. Also, tomorrow I'll be attending the State of the Estuary Conference, which is an annual conference about the state of San Francisco Bay and environs. That should be pretty interesting. I would like to mention about recycled water that it has become kind of an urgent issue for us of a sudden because there is a new legislative bill that has been introduced, probably not passed until next year, that would require all jurisdictions with ocean sewer outfalls to achieve 50% of their wastewater turned into recycled water. So that's a really big challenge and gives urgency to our efforts here. So we'll not only have to serve, I think, Ocean Colony partners, but look for other users to meet this mandate, and I think it's likely to pass. So that was a very interesting development. And that, I think, is it for me.
Good, thank you. Councilmember Mueller.
Yes, thank you. Also, MacDutra Plaza ribbon cutting, and I've also dropped in to visit with individuals that were sitting there, and everyone's very happy with the new facility that I visited with, 2 or 3. Since we kind of are all talking sewer, I can't let this go, but I will tell you, a week ago tomorrow, our Regional Water Quality Control Board annually recognizes an individual or an agency that does outstanding work in the wastewater industry that we're talking about. And this year we recognized, actually it was in honor of Dr. Teng Chang Wu, who he and I had the opportunity to visit Taiwan, and actually I got this tie from as being a presenter there. But Dr. Wu had huge foresight on wastewater and wetlands and buffer zones and things. So every year we honor someone, and this year was Central Contra Costa Sanitary District, and was interesting. It was a little TMI, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight, but Half Moon Bay, our staff did a great job a number of months back by sending a postcard out, and it's about flushable wipes. Yeah, very simple that. And Central Contra Costa is working really hard on a national level to stop this labeling of flushable wipes, because they are just plugging up pumps and motors and sewer plants and sewer lines. It's just not a nice situation. So they're going after the big box stores, and they've got a great campaign going, but they were mentioned again that here at Half Moon Bay, or city did, that sent out a card about flushable wipes. And again, with too much information, but toilet paper will disintegrate in about 8 seconds in water, where flushable wipes do not. So I'm sorry, but I had to bring that up. But they were definitely earned the recognition for the work they're doing, and they're looking at national legislation to get these things off the market, no matter what they are. But it's a huge potential problem for America. So thank you for letting me make those comments.
Thank you for bringing that up. And for our scouts that are in the room, if you ever want to do kind of a fun experiment, or the students watching, take toilet paper in a cup and seal it, and then take one of the, the facial wipes and shake it. Yeah. But,
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and shake it, and you see which one disintegrates better. It's a fun science project to do at home. Go on to mine, thank you. Secret School began a week ago, and I want to thank them for inviting me to participate in their first day of school festivities. It is the 20th year for the Seacrest School. They have their largest population of students, almost 300, and their largest class of kindergartners. So it was a nice celebration for everyone, and appreciate Seacrest School. They're a partner with our public schools and support everything that goes on. I want to thank everyone that came out to Mac Dutra Plaza, and although it's open and usable, there's still some more additions to it. We've got some light poles coming, and of course the tables, I think they'll be in the end of the week or so, or who knows. So it'll be nice that we'll be able to sit in the plaza just like many European countries do. You can move your tables and chairs around as you need to be. So that's nice, and a lot of people are using it. It's nice to see. Did attend the CCAG meeting this week, and also had a very nice lunch. Thank the senior co-siders for inviting me to their special 9/11 luncheon. They celebrate and honor our local firefighters and law enforcement. We had a library JPA meeting earlier, and talked about some of the features that all the libraries are having, but in particular, they're increasing the Wi-Fi units that you get to take away. That's highly popular.
We could spend 10 minutes talking about agendizing it, or we can just agendize it. So it's my comment on that. So it doesn't need to be in the next meeting, but it just needs to be, as staff has time to prepare an appropriate report to kick off and run that meeting, then we can have it. And if that's the next meeting or the meeting after, or meeting after that, it's just important that we have good data so we can make good decisions. So I support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Penrose, you have another item.
Yes, the other thing that I'd like to talk about at an upcoming council meeting is full Spanish translation of everything that the city puts out. I brought this idea up at our retreat in January, and we have since then been able to put out our community newsletter. Our quarterly newsletter comes out 4 times a year, and that's done in Spanish and in English, and a few other incidental publications. But we put out weekly community Haven Bay City newsletters. We put out Magda's notes and quotes. There are lots of things that come out of the city, and I'd like to have a discussion to see how we could put some money into and facilitate getting a Spanish translator, hopefully someone from the local Hispanic community, as opposed to hiring somebody from over the hill. But somebody local would be great. We could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, keep some money in town, and get things in Spanish.
Is that, you're saying that the newsletter is not in Spanish? I thought we
No,
said-
I said the quarterly newsletter is the only thing that's in Spanish. The weekly news, is it weekly that we have a newsletter? The online weekly news, and then there's Magda's notes and quotes. General plan updates are generally done in Spanish and English, but our city needs to be responsive to 30% of the population, I think. And I think hiring a translator on a part-time basis would be a good way to start.
We can bring back some budget information, or should we make that a part of our strategic plan? Any suggestions?
Yeah, we can handle that either way. So we can talk strategic plan conversation soon, and we can bring back a plan. Again, please give us a little bit of time.
Of course.
We need to do some research.
Sure.
Great, thank you. Now we move to city manager updates.
Thank you very much. I would like to share 2 things with the council today. There have been some inquiries, questions. Councilmember Ruddick asked that I provide some information on the Tiger Grant and the city's application towards that. And then Councilmember Penrose asked at the last meeting for some information on the Measure J committee meeting that occurred, and a potential, I don't want to call it potential, misunderstanding, whatever. Someone thought that there was a discrepancy. Well, I'm here to explain that there is not, but I'm here to explain that. Let me start with the Tiger Grant. I'm going to try to do this very slowly so that it's a little bit easy to follow. I'm going to provide a chronology so that we can be very open and transparent in terms of what the process is and what happened. So bear with me because there's lots of dates, so I'm going to read the information that I have before me. So April 3rd, 2015, this year, the U.S. Transportation Secretary announced availability of $500 million in seventh round transportation initiative, the Tiger Grant. It's a competitive process. The pre-application was due on May 5th. The final application was due on June 5th. Applications must be for transportation improvements projects of regional significance with an estimated cost of no less than $1 million. The final application must be submitted, this is again per the website, must be submitted through grants.gov, and so that's done electronically essentially. The transportation.gov notes that both the DUNS number and the SAM registration were required in order to submit the final application. The website also states that the DUNS, that's D-U-N-S, and SAM registration usually takes 2 to 4 weeks to complete. During the week of April 3rd, staff reviewed the Tiger Grant program information, and details of past grant approval projects in California. Generally, about 10% of the applicants are approved for the Tiger Grant. 7 projects in California were approved for 2014, 2 were approved in California for 2013 and 2012. Generally, past approved grants through the Tiger Grant funding process, they generally fund about 25% of the total cost, and then the rest of it is made with local funding. On or about April 10th, the community development staff discussed the Tiger Grant and the notice for funding availability. At the time, based on the criteria, based on the projects that we had, it was determined that the city lacked a competitive project based upon the stated goals and past grantee information that we evaluated. On April 20th, the City Council directed staff to prepare a Tiger Grant application. On April 23rd, that was April 20th, April 23rd, City then electronically started the renewal process for the DUNS registration number. We also then submitted on that same day, April 23rd, also started the process for the SAM registration number. A new SAM registration number was required due to the changes in the city manager. The SAM registration process included validation of the applicant, its agents, through the IRS service and Defense Logic Agency commercial and government entity system, so that's CAGE. So there's a 3-step process that needed to occur. It could not happen simultaneously, it had to happen not concurrently, it couldn't happen concurrently. On May 5th, the pre-application was submitted to the Department of Transportation. The Department of Transportation on May 5th accepted the pre-application and authorized the city to proceed to final application, which was due June 5th. June 3rd, the City Council formally approved the grant application. June 5th, SAM registration was not complete yet, which was the due date by which we needed to submit the application through the system. The final application was to be submitted electronically. Staff attempted to submit that electronically, could not. Phoned the staff at the DOT, Department of Transportation, emailed them to see if this issue could be resolved, and sent it by email. This again was June 5th. That same day, submitted electronically. June 8th, the coordinator at the DOT acknowledged receipt of the email that we sent them with the application. He also recommended submittal of the final application during that week. June 11th, we received the final notice of the SAM registration, so 5 days after the June 5th deadline. June 11th, again the same day, June 11th, staff uploaded the final application to the DOT website at grants.gov. We received email confirmation the application had been received and validated and was being prepared for the DOT process. July 1st, DOT notified city staff that the final application was not accepted because it was submitted after the June 5th deadline. And the DOT wanted to ensure that fair and competitive, because the DOT wanted to ensure a fair and competitive project in terms of the limited discretionary funds that were available. The staff then informed the interim community development director that the final application was in fact not accepted. And that same day, the community development director let me know. I then immediately, that same day, in fact, as John reminds me, I walked up from the desk and went to the phone and said I need to call this council to make sure that they know what's happened with this. It was our intent to provide and submit a competitive proposal in a timely manner. Staff was not timely in its response to the request from the DOT in terms of the further information that the DOT required for the SAM and DUNS, not for the for the SAM number. We were not as timely as we should have been. Additionally, staff should have let me and or the community development director know that, in fact, the application had been not accepted or rejected is a term that I have been quoted as saying, meaning the same thing, not accepted, earlier. But I assure this council that the day in which I was made aware of that, I notified council immediately. I won't comment further on staff. That is a personnel matter, confidential matter, so I will not comment on that further. Essentially, that's right.
Thank you.
And my second report, I will ask for some help from our finance director, Leah Carter, who can walk us through the process that occurred with the Measure J committee and the information. I think essentially was the question was that around the funding of Measure J money for the library.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'm Leah Carter, City's Finance Director. At the last meeting, Council requested that staff provide report on the Measure J Oversight Committee meeting and clarify some financial information that was presented during this meeting. The Measure J Oversight Committee meeting was held on August 31st at City Hall. In order to ensure compliance with the city-approved allocation of Measure J funds, the committee members reviewed and discussed the Measure J timing and language, committee role and responsibilities, Measure J financial report, and Measure J funded projects. This slide was presented at the meeting and it shows the fiscal year 14 and 15 budget to actual comparison. The first column lists the fiscal year 14-15 adopted budget allocation of Measure J funds, while the second one shows projected actual of the year. And please keep in mind that we are still working on the year-end closure as of today, so the unaudited numbers that you see in front of you may have some minor adjustments, especially on the revenue side. And a few points to make here. As you can see, the revenues are exceeding the conservative budget expectations, which is a great news. And for the expenditures, there are three major variances in project funding. The two projects marked in red on the spreadsheet were originally budgeted, and these projects are Poplar Beach expansion and Ocean View Park Restaurant. But these projects were deferred, and you can see that nothing was expended in the actual column. So we simply didn't spend this money. And another big variance is in the library project that we will discuss in the next few slides. The adopted fiscal year 14-15 library project budget included $500,000 in Measure A county grant funds, and we received this grant in July of 2014. And $167,000 local match was funded through Measure J. That was adopted budget. In February, Council approved additional transfer of $3 million from general fund to the restricted library capital fund. $750,000 of this transfer were funded by Measure J. The library finances are broken down in the table in front of you, and you can see this red circle that shows the transfer of 750,000 as part of 3 million transfer, and we call it mid-year budget adjustment. That brings the total allocation of Measure G funds to 917,000 for fiscal year 2014-15. As you may recall, all this information has been already reviewed by Council during the budget process. There is really nothing new I can say about the allocation of library funds. We just summarized Council actions for you here. The 3 million transfer was reflected in the fiscal year 15 proposed budget and presented to Council at the budget study session back in May. The library finances were fully described in the supplemental document that we prepared in response to budget questions and comments raised during the study session, and this document was distributed to the entire Council prior to the budget adoption. And finally, the budget was adopted on June 2nd, 2015, and the numbers are as presented in the budget. Here, just the snapshots of the documents that I referred to in the previous slide. The item on the left is the library capital fund summary page. It is a page from the adopted budget, from the budget document. And it does show Measure G fiscal year 15 and 16 allocations to the library. And the document on the right is the supplemental document that I just referred to, that provided additional explanation on allocation of library funds and questions and answers to budget questions raised during the study session. It may be difficult to see here, but we will be happy to provide this document if needed. And finally, this slide is the most comprehensive overview of Measure J historic and future revenues and expenditures. Please keep in mind that everything beyond fiscal year 16 budget, current fiscal year 16 budget, is based on the capital improvement program that was approved by Council as part of fiscal year 16 budget. The CIP plan is revised every year during the budget process and at midpoint year review. So these future projects that you can see on your list, specifically for fiscal year 16-17, may or may not stay on the list and may have different funding level depending on Council priorities during the budget, new budget cycle. And I also want to bring your attention to the reserve balance line, which is the last line on the spreadsheet. And you can see that the Measure J funds are most likely to be exhausted by fiscal year 2017-18, and the revenue collection is projected to stop next year. This concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Council? Yulia, thank you for that presentation. Council, any questions? It's good. Thank you for the clarity on that. Appreciate that. Good, thank you. We go now to public forum, and we have several parts this evening. So, some new faces, we have 3 minutes, and Chandra Scruggs, followed by David Lowe.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, my name is Shonda Scruggs. I'm the Director of Tobacco Prevention for San Mateo County Health System. I come here this evening to support some residents we have received complaints from about being exposed to secondhand smoke. We also wanted to offer support to the city in regards to any technical assistance you may need with additional information requests, or if you're seeking to follow the lead of other cities throughout the county and adopting additional policies, we can provide you with model language as well as implementation strategies. Thank you.
Thank you. It's on for the San Mateo County Health System. And do we have, you've got your email here for some contact information?
Yes.
And you have it as well? Okay. Because there's, I think, some issues beyond just a blanket thing. But thank you for coming here this evening. David Lovey, followed by Henry Rohrback.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate getting 3 minutes back. Harvey Rohrback, followed by Norma Cantor.
Good evening, Council. Harvey Marvac, speaking for AFOG, that's the Advocates for Open Government. AFOG is very concerned that our public officials and elected officials are respectful of the public. And I'm glad to see that our city manager finally responded 3 months late to a discussion about why the city left $4.5 million on the table for the Tiger Branch. It's a long time coming. We had articles in the review, we had public comment for the last 3 meetings, all asking for an explanation. Nothing came forward. Finally, I think one of our city council people got the city manager to respond, and that's good, but it shouldn't have to take all that effort. It's a lot of money. And the explanation that the grant was rejected is, in the words of our city manager, not the case. What happened was, because they did not apply in time for a SAM number, which was a simple thing, we lost, or probably lost, $4.5 million. That's over 30% of our budget. And it's time that the public is aware of this. And we would like to have some procedure in place so that in the future, this sort of thing doesn't happen again. It's unacceptable. The other thing I'd like to talk about in terms of respect for the public is the Measure J Oversight Committee. When Measure J was passed, one of the reasons that was given that it would be a fair and transparent process was that there would be a citizens committee that was called the Measure J Oversight Committee. And I spoke to one of the members who isn't able to be here, and this is what he said the meeting last August 31st accomplished. No explanation was given at the time to these committee members about why some projects were defunded. We just heard tonight, but the committee itself was not informed. Nothing was provided telling them why. There was no expenditure report. There was no backup invoices, receipts, or anything to prove that the numbers were in fact responsive to what they had wanted. There was no vote taken. There were no minutes written. There was no official proof that the committee even met and accepted the expenditures as valid. Now, I understand that nothing illegal happened, that the committee just had to approve what the budget was given to them. But to call this an oversight committee is not really truth in advertising. It really was a rubber stamp committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Norman Lanter, followed by R.A. Wilker.
Good evening. I want to start on a positive note and thank the council for all the wonderful work that's been done on the trails over here. I really enjoyed it, and I think everybody does. I'm a retired psychologist with behavioral medicine and worked in the wellness clinic at the VA outpatient clinic for years. And ran the smoking cessation programs is one thing I did. And so I wanted to talk about if there was any way we could get some help and have them ban the smoking here. Because it's really in line with the traffic problem we're having. I was glad that came up tonight, because if you add the toxic fumes that we're taking in here, with people sitting on Main Street for hours with their car running, then you have the groups congregated outside the bar, outside of all the other places, smoking. This is becoming a very, very toxic city. And you know, I think a lot of people over here moved to Half Moon Bay as I did, because we thought it was healthy. And I had a slight respiratory problem, and I thought, well, this is the place I want to be. I used to come over here and run. And, but you know, it's really just turned very sour for me, because I don't see how in the world we ever get beyond the problems that are so entrenched here, this traffic. It's just absolutely not acceptable. And I've had people tell me horror stories about the traffic, like a man who said his child was sick and he couldn't get out. I mean, literally, we are locked in our houses all whole weekend. I live in fear of having an emergency and trying to get out of here. And people in my neighborhood, they say they just abandon their cars. They just drop their car off somewhere and end up walking back to their house or taking a cab or something. So I think the smoking, looking at secondhand smoke, and I walk a lot, that's one of the things I do, and I see, it's just appalling to me the amount of people that stand out and smoke, and you have the schools that are taking their little kids for walks, and you know, they're blowing smoke all over the place. And the VA, it was very difficult to get it done, but finally we had so many complaints that nobody wanted to come into our building because they didn't want to come through the front entrance. So we finally got administration to listen to us. And we got a program that they couldn't smoke there. And you would be amazed how wonderful this benefits people. Once people know, and you have a structure in place, and they know they can't do something, it falls in line. You may have some resistance, but you know, it takes time. And it's a terrible addiction. I understand it. I've seen people struggle with it for years, but there's so much more help now than there used to be. There's numerous ways to stop smoking. And as you know, the president with his Nicorette gum, you have the patch, you have medications. So we could give people help over here. We could get help for them. Anyway, that was what I wanted to talk about tonight. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Mrs. R.A. Wilker, please. If I have said that correctly.
It's all right. It's actually Wilkerson. Michelle Ava Wilkerson, and I actually live at 925 Main Street in the senior facility with my husband James. I'm here regarding the smoking issue. I've been very involved with the Smoking Coalition and the rules where we live. It's non-smoking. I called City Code Enforcement, Anna Venegas, and she talked with the City General Attorney for a good 2 days about the rules. Environmental health couldn't represent anything because we here at Half Bay have no specific code enforcement to go in to facilities such as the new senior facility built on Main Street that serves the meals downstairs and on Saturday free meals for the community to enforce violators for the last year and a half with proof, and it's been complained to management under our lease that these individuals are smoking, the fire alarms are going off, so on and so forth. It's a risk not only to people who live across the way from these individuals who violate, but for people who have, I have asthma myself, but I don't want to smell tobacco smoke when I get off the elevator 20 feet away. I don't want to hear alarms going off. So I would like the city to adopt all of the city code ordinances of 496 and 497 so that San Mateo County and incorporated and unincorporated areas can't go in and have our code enforcement with our city, Half Moon Bay here, enforce what the management is not enforcing and only says to us, well, unless we catch the violators with the cigarettes in their mouth, there's nothing we can do. And another issue real fast on the traffic. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. I'm familiar with the traffic. I send texts to KTVU and all that on Main Street. It's just a reality of the actual transportation issues here at Half Moon Bay, I understand. But I've been involved greatly with the Sheriff's Department on transportation. I call dispatch because I have seen violators blocking the entrances and turn signals. And if we had actual patrol officers citing, it would be funds, possibly for our city, for these tickets given to the violators, because the traffic's not going to stop. We're not going to get double-decker roadways go up and down 92 or a SkyTram or something like that. I think we just need more enforcement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkerson?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's an honor to be able to present this issue to you. We really need your help. The bus stop that's located at 925, or generally at 925 Main Street, in front of the Coastside Senior Housing. The bus stop's at the north end of that block. When buses pull in there, they create all kinds of problems. After complaining in April to the Citizens Action Committee of Samtrans, virtually nothing was done. I made another presentation at the end of August, and finally they sent out some inspectors who looked at the area. There are 3 and 4 inspectors at a time. I don't know what takes that many to do the job, but in any case. And then they looked at the situation for over a week, and things got better. But all of the issues could be resolved merely by moving that bus stop to the south end of the block. Buses could pull straight in, they don't have to back up and make their backup noise. That part of the building is farther away from Main Street than is the north end of the building, so less fumes, less noise going in there. It would really be a great assistance. In talking to one of the contractors who did the inspection, he said one of the things that if they would ever ask to move that bus stop, the city council would have to approve it. So I'm asking the council, if that issue is ever presented to you by Samtrans, please approve the relocation of that bus stop just to the south end of the block. And it would really be a big help, not only to our health, but also to our sanity. So not have to listen to that backup sound and listen and have all the diesel smoke infiltrating the building. Sure appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Doreen Garrity, followed by Frank Garrity. You're going. You pass. Okay. Thank you. Have a nice evening. George Munoz. Oh. Doreen is speaking. Frank's not. Got it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Doreen Garrity, and as president of the Growing Coastside Advocates for Open Government organization, I am speaking on behalf of the entire organization tonight. Advocates for Open Government is a nonpartisan citizen organization dedicated to the principles of open and transparent government. AFOG's goal is to provide community oversight and guidance to our local government to facilitate a respectful, open, and transparent process. We feel that it is crucial to recognize those individuals who promote and achieve the highest levels of openness and transparency in government. Siobhan Smith, our city clerk, has served more than 15 different administrations throughout her 20 years of service to the city of Half Moon Bay and its citizens. Siobhan is a strong advocate and supporter of open and transparent government. Siobhan has exemplified the very best principles of open and transparent government by representing the city of Half Moon Bay in the most professional and amiable way possible. In all of her years of service, no one knew her personal political beliefs, and she never asked anyone theirs. She serves everyone equally, which is as it should be for a devoted servant, public servant. Throughout her years of serving the administration and in the public, she has proven herself to be a treasure and priceless community asset. Tonight, it is with great appreciation and admiration that AFOG presents to Siobhan Smith its inaugural AFOG Award for Transparency and in Government. Since Siobhan is not able to be here tonight, to accept her award, George Munoz will accept the award on her behalf. Thank you, Siobhan, for everything, and congratulations.
I feel really awkward in this. I was asked if I would accept this award, which I can't begin to say what I think I should not. She's just simply the best of the best. And the only justification that I could sense to do this was that I'm probably the longest serving pain in her area. And I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of Siobhan, and she is the best city clerk that I have ever dealt with, and I've dealt with quite a few nationwide. So on behalf of Siobhan, I would say thank you very much. This recognition, I'm sure she appreciates.
Good evening. My name is Joaquin Jimenez. I'm a long-time community member, half from Bay, been here for many, many years. And I'm here to let you know about something that's going on in the community. I don't know if you're aware of about the evictions of family members. Long-time family members of the community. Families range from the age of newborns to the age of 78 years old. They're moving out of state, out of the area, because there's no rent control. You know, we have families living in fear of reporting. They're living in substandard conditions because they're afraid to report any fixings to management because of the eviction. I don't know if the city is aware of this happening, but no, I'm here to let you know. I've been working with all the community members, trying to help these families stay in our community, and we're asking you, City Council, if you can do it. If there's anything you can do, some rent control. Yes, helping these families, like I said, they're being evicted. I don't know if you know the conditions. The rent moving month to month, $500 will increase, up to $1,000 increase. So just letting you know what's going on in the community. I don't know if you're aware of this. So we are requesting, the only one today, but there's several of us that are requesting this assistance from the city, because we don't want to lose more members of the community. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Pam Fisher, followed by John Holm.
Good evening. Pam Fisher. After the infamous meeting to choose an architect for the library project, we were promised there would be a great deal of outreach and more than enough opportunity for public input on the scope, size, and design of the library. We consistently heard from friends of the library and city council that nothing is cast in stone and everything is on the table. I attended the first outreach meeting about the library on Sunday and can assure you that almost everything seemed to be cast in stone. We were shown a variety of scale models of only 25,000 square foot libraries crammed into the existing library lot with hardly any room for the required parking. Perhaps the size of the existing lot is not sufficient. Meaningful dialogue was also impossible within the format. We were asked to answer questions like what our highest and lowest priority of the library programs were, with no real explanation of how that would affect the size or the cost of the completed project. The diagrams presented were full of squares and rectangles representing program areas of the library, including a 2,000 square foot community center. The presumption was simply that this would be a 25,000 square foot library. There was no discussion of available space and services nearby, including the fact that between the new gymnasium and the Ted Adcock Center, there will be thousands of square feet available for community use within 150 yards of the library. There was no scale on the squares and rectangles, so it was almost impossible to say what the effect eliminating, combining, or reducing these spaces would be, and the resulting impact this would have on services and programs. When the question of parking was raised, one answer was that we would consider it later. There are clear requirements for off-street and on-site parking in our municipal code, chapter 18.36.040. The architects had no idea what these code requirements were. There seemed to be a plan to utilize a larger than permitted amount of off-site parking in front of people's homes. Having experienced that situation in Highland Park, due to our proximity to Half Moon Bay High School, I find this untenable. In addition, although an unpopular topic, the CEQA process for adjacent projects such as the gymnasium and skate park should have been included with this project. These projects should have been considered a development project as a whole under CEQA. How else could legitimate traffic and parking studies be completed? In the real world, these projects do not exist in isolation, which is exactly how they were represented to the Planning Commission for CDP approval. And now we seem to have a change in plans from the CDP approved for the gymnasium on the Queens site. The gymnasium now appears to contain not 2 basketball courts, but one and a clubhouse for the Boys and Girls Club. How will this change in use impact the existing plan in regards to middle school program traffic and parking? 10 seconds. I hope and have requested that future workshops by Noel and Tam not be so narrow in consideration only of a 25,000 square foot library, but requested that they be presented at least 2 other size options in serious dialogue about how the community can get what it needs and not simply what it wants. Wanting something and feasibility are 2 very different things. The co-site needs a new library of appropriate size, scale, and design. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
Not so much to talk about, but it is great living here. And so, this gentleman actually is onto something maybe you should consider. Library use is declining in this country. The reason why is the internet. But another good reason why is we're running out of kids. And this town is really going to run out of kids in the next couple of decades. Can't afford to have kids in this town. Nobody is going to move here and raise a family unless they're making well over the median income. And there's a lot of people that are needed in this town that can't afford to live here. And I know we complain about traffic and stuff like that in our library and all that, but our biggest issue is that our community is highly stressed. And it takes a ridiculous amount of work to live here. And I have to go over the hill. There's no jobs over here for guys like me. The jobs that are here, they're not going to, they couldn't even come close to paying the rent that I pay. I don't pay very much rent. So I think that when you're considering how you're going to help people in this community, how we're going to allocate resources, the resources of staff's time and community energy, I sure have put a lot into the library. And would sure like to see the same kind of effort be put into, helping the parents of kids this gentleman was talking about. And it's not just Hispanic people or immigrants. It's just about everybody that's starting out in life. And maybe that's what we need to be talking about. I had a lot to complain about, but this guy hit it on the head. Thanks.
Thank you. That concludes public forum. And I would just, you spoke.
No.
Okay, quickly.
And this is part of the problem. Although I appreciate the city manager's explanation, I was here last week talking about this, and frankly, I don't think it's sufficient. So I'll go ahead and read a prepared speech that I have. Good evening. There seems to be a problem. At the last council meeting, I once again stood at this podium and pitched a simple softball in an attempt to get discussion and clarity on what many believe is a serious issue. My attempt was ignored, unfortunately. The Review published an article on August 19th on the city's failure to receive $4.5 million trail grant. The piece was titled, quote, "City fails to apply for $4.5 million federal grant. Council authorized it, but application never completed." In the piece, the Review editor states that the Department of Transportation, the grant provider, never received the grant request. Further into the piece, Councilmember Ruddick is quoted as stating that the city manager told her the grant was, quote, "rejected." She told me the city's application, and I'm quoting, "She told me the city's application had been rejected." We all make mistakes, but that's not the point here. The point here, as most see it, is what is now being described as Trailgate, which is a spin-off, of course, of Watergate. And of course, we all remember Watergate not as a break-in issue, but rather an abuse of power issue, one that brought down the President of the United States. A mistake would be to not have applied, but this goes deeper than just a mistake. The grant provider states the application from Half Moon Bay was never received, yet the city manager said the grant was, quote, "rejected" 2 months after the fact. It can't be both ways. At the last council meeting, I stood at this podium, as I have so many times before, and pleaded with this council to address the matter, to set the narrative, and to clean up any misconceptions for the benefit of the public. The council chose to ignore my request. Many wonder why. So here I am again, asking the council to address the matter again. You, of course, can just ignore my request again, or you can address it. Any attempts to sweep it under the rug will not lessen the loss of $4.5 million, which is a substantial amount of money that would have benefited both Half Moon Bay residents and visitors. nor the misinformation, apparent misinformation by the city manager. So bluntly asked, which is it? Was the application denied, as the city manager stated, or was the application never filed, which would mean the city manager misstated the facts? Perhaps you can also take this opportunity to shed some light on why our dedicated city clerk hasn't been in the office in over 2 weeks. And in closing, I'd like to recognize a beloved Half Moon Bay resident and fighter for open, honest government, Ozzy Montero, who underwent surgery today to remove an aggressive cancer. My thoughts and prayers are with Ozzy and his family. Thank you.
And that does conclude public forum right now. We have items 1 through 3, and just before we do that, I'm just going to ask council, can we move up the staff report of item number 5 for the sake of our speaker?
Vice Mayor, I'm sorry.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Were you asking to move up the strategic plan item? I couldn't hear you very well. Yeah, Vice Mayor, we're happy to do that. Vice Mayor Walchuk to sign off.
Well, he signed off, so we were just going to leave it up for his Never mind. Okay, thank you. And we're going to break for a moment. Oh, we're on break now. I'm sorry. That's right.
Trouble with the mayor.
This conversation's over. The mayor just put her hands on me, and I don't appreciate it. And I'm thinking about filing a report. You keep your hands off of me. Please don't you ever touch me. I don't need you to tell me what to do. Thank you.
Got them under control.
Nothing covered.
We're just trying to get up on Keep them going.
None in, yeah, we could probably live with that. No earlier than that.
We'll have a 1-minute warning. We have a 1-minute warning. We could do, what do you call it?
Want to do a consent?
Consent.
Go ahead.
I was thinking.
I move that we approve consent items 1, 2, and 3. Number 1, approve warrants for August 2015. Number 2, approve City Council meeting minutes for the meetings of July 21st, 2015, August 8th, 2015, and September 1st, 2015. And item 3, resolution authorizing the city manager to secure construction oversight services for the 2015 street reconstruction project.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? No opposed? No abstain. All right, thank you. And we have, Vice Mayor Polchek has signed off, so we'll go right to item number 4, ordinance and public hearing. Adoption of an ordinance amending many different chapters in a whole lot of paragraphs I won't read specifically.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'll be brief. This item was introduced by the council on August 18th. As you recall, we went through a very extended PowerPoint presentation, which I will not do for tonight, unless you desire. This is an ordinance that is required as a result of adoption of and certification of the city's housing element. It is a mandate from the state to allow transitional housing and shelter uses within at least one zoning district of the city by right. This ordinance includes a variety of things, including adding the definitions of transitional housing, shelters, as well as other definitions, and it also includes provisions for where and when the shelter and transitional services are relocated. So without further detail, I'll stop and ask for any questions, if that's fine.
Any questions? Go ahead.
I think staff, thank you for the work that's been put into this, and it almost relates a little bit to the comment from one of the speakers. We are trying to do the best we can to protect the individuals that are in our community, and I think it's a good program, and so I'm definitely in support of continuing this ordinance.
Motions?
I move that we approve ordinance PDP-039-15, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Half Moon Bay of 18.03, use classifications modifying subsection 18.03.030, residential use classifications by adding new definitions in subsection 18.03.030H, target population, subsection 18.03.030I, supportive housing, subsection 18.03.030J, transitional housing, and amending and reordering subsection 18.03.040, public and semi-public use, public and semi-public use classifications to add a new subsection 18.03040F, emergency shelter, amending chapter 18.06 to add supportive housing and transitional housing as a permitted use in all residential zones in table A-1, schedule of residential uses, and amending chapter 18.09 public and quasi-public land use P-S to include emergency shelters that list of permitted uses in section 18.09.020.
Thank you for reading all of that. Can I have a second?
I second it. You did a great job.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes completely. Thank you. We'll move now to staff report and resolutions. Accept strategic plan progress report.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, members of the council. Alex Kojiki, Deputy City Manager. I'm going to go through basically the strategic plan report update for you. So we'll go ahead and start it off as what is a strategic plan? The strategic plan reflects the priorities of the City Council and helps to guide the allocation of city resources. The strategic plan is intended to serve a 3 to 5 year window in order to best meet the needs of the people who live and work in Half Moon Bay. The strategic plan is also the basis for allocating financial and human resources in the city's annual budget. It's policy, not operation. It has synergy with the city's capital improvement program. In late 2012, the City Council received input from the community and staff and reviewed the needs of the city over a 5 year horizon. The City Council established 4 strategic elements: infrastructure, public safety, long-term fiscal sustainability, and city operations. Furthermore, the City Council held a council retreat back in January of this year, which included an agenda item to review the strategic plan. The City Council at that time was asked whether the city should retain, drop, or change the priority levels of each action item on the strategic plan. Based on the direction received from the Council, City staff used this information to develop the current fiscal year 15-16 budget. The review and update of the strategic plans happens approximately every 6 months. The strategic plan report basically labels high, medium, and low of the strategic elements. Within it, it gives a timeline of the fiscal year and a detailed update on each item. It also gives notice of whether or not the project is on track, whether the item is on track, it's ongoing or continuing or completed. At a high level view, we wanted to go through and talk about the high-level projects that the City Council has prioritized on the strategic plan. Current strategic plan for fiscal year 15-16 is on track and requires no council attention at this time. Getting trigger happy there. So the first item is Pillar Cedars Creek Bridge. The Pillar Cedars Creek Bridge, all state and federal permits have been issued. The bridge is currently being fabricated as we speak in Florida and will be shipped out here shortly. Biological work is set to commence the week of September 21st, and we're scheduled the groundbreaking and sent out a special e-news announcement today. It'll be Thursday, September 24th at 4 p.m. Major construction for the project is to be completed by October 31st per our permits. The next item is the general plan. In March, the City Council directed staff to refocus the general plan to emphasize the essential core and downtown area. Additionally, the City Council endorsed the new neighborhood and community outreach efforts. Staff and consultants are in the final weeks of the initial community outreach program. Policy development and document preparation are scheduled to begin with the General Plan Advisory Committee and the Planning Commission in October. The Half Moon Bay Library Project. The City Council gave direction to staff to go ahead and hire the project manager and also provided direction for staff to hire Nolan Tam architects and planners in August to provide architectural and design-related services. Community outreach has commenced this week and is set to commence this week. And we'll be going through with outreach, and I believe a survey will be coming out as well for the project. The next item is Highway 1 safety and congestion. The city submitted a revised permit evaluation engineering report, or they call PEER in the acronyms, just to give you the detailed study for the 2 Highway 1 safety and congestion relief projects. The report validates 2 new traffic signals, one at Terrace Avenue and Highway 1, and a second at South Main Street and Highway 1. Staff is planning to commence neighborhood and community meetings in October. The Main Street Bridge. Testing of the bridge has been completed. Staff is awaiting the complete report from the consulting firm. The testing data will be taken into account as the community works to discuss bridge design options. The Main Street Bridge Committee conducted its first meeting in August and is scheduled to meet once again on October 1st. Keogh Ditch. The City Council approved a contract with Schaff and Wheeler to prepare surveys of the ditch and prepare hydraulic analysis, hydrogeologic. There we go. I'm reading too fast. Calendar and Associates is under contract to provide interagency coordination for the project. So next steps. So the strategic plan works basically with our fiscal year 15-16 or fiscal year 16-17 budget. And so what will happen is the next steps is setting the budget calendar for the upcoming budget season. The City Council will hold another strategic plan retreat. There'll be a financial update. There'll be community input for the strategic plan and the capital improvement projects. There'll be a CIP workshop as well, and then a budget study session and budget adoption. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Mayor, if I might just add a couple of comments. Again, in an effort to, I just want to point out a couple of things, an effort to be even more transparent and open, so we can make our friends at AFOG hopefully a little bit happy. They're not listening to me, but anyhow. We have added the community input session to the budget process. It had been done in the past, I think, during when the initial elements, the strategic plan elements were developed. I think there was a big process that was done at that time. So we'd like to do that again. Actually, 2 council members today had different ideas, but we'll bring that back to council and figure out what works for everybody. So get a little consensus on that. I also wanted to mention that as you saw the CIP plan with this last budget round, it's becoming more of a real CIP plan. It's not quite there yet. As I mentioned to several of you today, we need to break down some of those projects that are multi-year projects into different components, different phases, so that we can better track, better manage those projects, better allocate people and dollar resources to it. We want to take a better look at the strategic elements that you see as part of the strategic plan, the little initials that are there. So we want to make sure that we've got sort of bits and pieces that are there to make up a true strategic plan, but they haven't come all together. So it may not happen this next year, but we're working towards having them all aligned together so that they can we can look at it as one big piece, one big document, one big process. So again, this is the purpose of the strategic plan is not to have a strategic plan, but it is to help build what becomes the budget of this council and how we allocate the precious resources that this community has.
Thank you. Councilmember comments, and thanks for the support. I'm glad Highway 1 safety congestion is still on here too. Comments? Questions?
I'm wondering if you can update us on the status of the more comprehensive financial reporting system that would get us out of just doing spreadsheets for budgetary processes and
yes, I'll ask our finance director to help with that. We are in the process, as I understand it, looking at a couple of vendors, but I'll have her help with that.
Well, this project was budgeted in the CFA budget in the current fiscal year, and what is going to happen next, we are going to do needs assessment. Sometimes We are currently discussing this project as part of the executive team because this project crosses all departments, and it's not just finance project, it's also business building, planning, and we want to make sure that we work in sync. And just from my standpoint, I'm in the process of filling one of the most critical positions in the department, so once we fill this position, we will be able to move forward with this project once we finalize the dates.
Yeah, I think it's really important for the city if we're really going to have a budget and a CIP that are really, integrated in a way that's user-friendly to staff, but also the public. So I think that's an important project.
Just one thing I want to point out, even we do have plans to move forward with this project this fiscal year, but it is a very lengthy project and it will take more than just a few months or maybe a year, and just for the safety and precautions measures, I think we will be still doing budget in Excel next fiscal year while we are doing hopefully implementation or moving forward with the new financial system.
And then at the strategic plan meeting, we did talk about exploring the uses for the Beechwood property. And I didn't see it in the notes from the meeting. I didn't see it in this staff report. I'm just wondering, where does that stand?
So that item is located in the Carrillo Highway properties. That is the Beechwood and Lakeview properties. So that's it, and it's scheduled for later this year.
Any other comments?
I do have a comment from Vice Mayor Polchik at the appropriate time.
Oh, yes, thank you.
He sent us a note here, so I have to read it. I will just read it. I'm asking that parks, lighting, and public safety improvements be added to the strategic plan. Essentially, in light of the tragedy on Oak Street and the issues with the Oak Street Park, I would like to ask council to add this as a priority item on the strategic plan and have it cover all of our parks, but starting with Oak Street Park.
I was under the impression that this was a discussion item that says accept strategic plan and progress report. If in fact the council wants to add things, then I would like this to be placed on an agenda of upcoming meetings so that I can think about those things too, about things worthy of addition or what have you. I wasn't prepared for that kind of an action this evening.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I think we all want parts, but I think, we do it through our process. What would be better?
If I may, Mayor,
Yes.
I think, I accept the concept, and I think we have to be sensitive to the lighting issue, and we do need to discuss this thoroughly, I think. But I think it's on the table, at least review it. And I'd prefer to leave it at that at this time.
Yeah, I agree, because lighting can be a very interesting topic, and we certainly want lighted areas where we feel safe, but not blanketed all over. So I wasn't expecting to add more things to this myself. So I think it's more of an acceptance, and if we do add, subtract, or move that and prioritize, we'll do that in larger.
I'd like to, before I make my motion, I think we ask a lot of few people, and we've heard that before, and so thank you all for trying to get us through the strategic plan. It's almost like a wish list, but we are kind of forcing it on the wish. So I think just for us this evening to accept this, I would move to accept the strategic plan progress report.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye passes completely. No nays, no abstentions. And that ends that. Just one comment. Hope we'll all be together on September 24th at 4 p.m. to stand by a broken bridge that will be fixed and be repaired this year. So good. Do some... Pumpkin pie, there you go. Well, thank you, and thanks staff for all your work. Appreciate it. We're over.